Welcome back, advanced math students. Today's lesson 65. We're actually going to be taking this lesson in two different sections. Today we'll be talking about our radicals and our trig equations, and then during tomorrow's lesson we'll do the second part of this, the graphs of our logarithmic functions. Now, to help us in today's part about these radicals and trig equations, I just want to review some general things about radical equations. So what does that mean that you have a radical equation? There's some sort of radical, there's some sort of square root or cube root that you have in the question. Well, how did we go about correctly solving a radical equation? Number one, we had to isolate the radical. That was the only thing that we wanted on one side of the question. Everything else had to be on the other side of the question. Once you had the root on the side by itself, then you did some sort of exponent in order to get rid of that radical. Like the opposite of a square root is to square. The opposite of a cube root is to cube. So on step number two, we would do that power on both sides of our equation. That way we can keep our equation balanced. Let's do a review question like we saw during algebra, and then we can apply that concept to our trig questions today. If I had asked you to solve the square root of x minus 3 and then minus 2 is equal to 0. Now please notice I cannot put the minus 3 and the minus 2 together. The minus 3 is inside of the square root and the minus 2 is not. So step number one, I need to isolate my radical symbol. How do I do that? I'm going to have to add 2. So now I have the square root of x minus 3 is equal to positive 2. Now that the radical symbol is completely isolated, we can square both sides in order to get rid of the square root. So I've shown that on the screen. I'm going to square on the left side to cancel the square root, and then I'm going to have the square on the right side as well. Well, on the left side, the square root and the square are opposite, so they cancel each other out, and I'm just left with the x minus 3. On the right side, 2 squared is 4, and I'm going to finish getting the x by itself now by adding 3. So x was equal to 7. I know that that is the correct answer in our question because if I put 7 back into my problem, 7 minus 3 is 4, the square root of 4 is 2, and then 2 minus 2 is 0. So that's what's nice about these radical equations is I'm always going to know, do I have the correct answer in our problem? Well, today as we're looking at our questions where I have a radical that is part of a trig equation, we're going to be using the exact same procedure. We want to make sure that the trig part or the radical part is all by itself. We'll do a square or a cube, whatever's necessary to continue solving on this question. Now, one slight difference when it comes to a trig equation, there's going to be two things that we have to be careful of. So here's our first one. The first thing that we have to be careful of when we're doing a question that especially involves a square root. Raising both sides of my equation to a power, sometimes it says generates spurious, which are extra roots. There is nothing in the solving that would clue me that this wouldn't work in the problem. But if I actually go to check at the end of the equation, there's something that's going to be wrong in our problem. Now, before we proceed into our two different questions that we're going to be looking at here, let me go ahead and just talk through the triangles with you. So if you need to jot them down on your paper so you can reference them in our trig questions. So the first two we have are two right triangles. The first triangle, you can go ahead and put your 30 degrees on the top corner and your 60 degrees in the bottom right-hand corner. The length across the bottom was the number 1. The length going up the side of the triangle was square root 3, and then the hypotenuse was the number 2. The other triangle, both of your angles are 45 degrees. Both of the legs were 1, and the hypotenuse was square root 2. So we'll use that information as we're working through our question. Also go ahead and draw out your Cartesian plane. Remember, in the Cartesian plane, the axis on the right is 0 degrees. The one at the top is 90. Left is 180, bottom is 270, and then all the way back around is 360, so that would be where the 0 is sitting as well. On your 0 degree axis, go ahead and put a point, and that point has the ordered pair 1, 0. On your 90 degree axis, go ahead and put your point. That ordered pair is 0, 1. On your 180 degree axis, your point on that one would be negative 1, 0. And then on your 270 degree axis, go ahead and label that point as 0, negative 1. Last thing, just to review over before we get to our question, so lots of things that we have to remember here are about the signs in the quadrant. Remember, in quadrant number 1, all of our ratios are positive. In the second quadrant, only sine was positive. In the third, tangent was positive. And in the fourth, cosine is positive. If we did have to land on the Cartesian plane, then we used our special definitions like sine was y over r, cosine was x over r, and then tangent was y over x. So let's go ahead and start off with our first question. So as mentioned, don't forget to check your answers because sometimes there's answers that the question gives us, but those are not actual answers in our problem. So our first equation that we're going to try to solve, there's our limitation that we've seen throughout the school year. My answer for theta has to fall between 0 and 360 degrees. It needs to fall within one rotation of the Cartesian plane. So I have sine theta minus the square root of 1 minus sine squared theta is equal to 0. Well, our job here is to solve for theta. Our equation does have a radical. So the first step, just like we did in our algebra question, was we had to isolate the radical symbol. So I'm going to add the square root to the right side of my question. So I have sine theta equals square root 1 minus sine squared theta. Well, number 2 was I wanted to remove that radical symbol. What do I do to get rid of a square root? I'm going to square. If I square on both sides of my question, the problem now looks like this. So I have sine squared theta equals 1 minus sine squared theta. Again, I can't move anything from inside the square root until the square root has been completely removed in our question. Notice in our question, we're looking for theta, and theta is on both sides of our equation, so I need to get those all together. So my next step is I'm going to take the sine squared theta that was on the right side, and I'm going to move it to the left side. So to do that, I would have to add. So sine squared theta plus sine squared theta would be 2 sine squared theta, and my equation is still equal to 1. As I continue to solve, just like in an algebra question, I'm going to divide by 2 next. So sine squared theta is equal to 1/2. Well, in order to give the answers, I just wanted to say sine theta, not sine squared theta. So what do I do to get rid of a square? I'm going to have to square root. Now, don't forget, anytime you use square root in the problem, you have to include those plus and minus signs. So I have sine theta is plus or minus root 2 over 2. So how did I come up with that? I would have square root 1 over square root 2. So I did the square root of both parts of my fraction. We can't leave a square root in the denominator, so I flung it up to the top. Square root 1 times square root 2. There's the square root 2 that I have in the numerator, and then I would just leave the number 2 in the denominator. Notice our sine function has a plus and a minus. Well, where is sine positive in the Cartesian plane? Quadrants 1 and quadrant 2. Where is sine negative in the Cartesian plane? Quadrants 3 and 4. So I have 4 potential answers on my question: 45, 135, 225, and 315. So I looked at the triangle. What angle gives me a sine of root 2 over 2 is 45 degrees. Then I did the second quadrant, so I backed up from 180. 180 minus 45, that's where I got my 135. The third quadrant goes past 180. So 180 plus 45, that's the 225. And then my last answer is in the fourth quadrant, so I got to back up from 360. 360 minus 45 is 315 degrees. Now again, please don't, oh, I got my answer, so I'm done. I have to look, are those possible answers in the question? Now, what I would encourage you to do on this question, don't put all of those answers back in and do all of the arithmetic. That would be a nightmare if you tried to do that. So let's think about what we know from algebra. If I have a square root, what kind of answer does a square root always give me? A positive answer. Like the square root of 9 is 3. The square root of 36 is 6. I always give a positive answer. So that means in my question here, let me try to highlight this for you. This part of my question where I see the square root way up here, that part of my question is a positive number. Well, if I'm going to subtract a positive number and I get 0, what kind of number does this first part have to be? So what minus something would give me 0, the same positive number? That means this part of my question where it says sine theta has to be a positive answer. Where on the Cartesian plane is sine positive? It's only in quadrants 1 and 2. That means my 2 answers down here of 225 and 315, those are the spurious roots, those are the extra ones. Putting 225 into that first part of the question would have been a negative number. Negative minus something would be a negative number, not the number 0. The same thing for 315. A negative minus something would be a negative number. But both 45 and 135 would keep the sign ratio at the beginning positive, and a positive minus a positive can give me the number 0 in our question. I'm going to go ahead and pause our video and pick up in just a second. I'm almost out of time for my recording here. So make sure you do continue to watch part 2 of this first section about our radicals and our trig equations.